Welcome to Wrasslin Raw!
All right, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became war and Attitude ruled. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
No, not Pete Rose.
Joe Giammatteo.
Philbin 316.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history one pay-per-view at a time. That's right, folks. This is a special pay-per-view episode, so pay-per-view stipulations are in effect. We're going to be giving our star ratings. Joe's going to be hitting us with Meltzer's star ratings. We're going to talk about whether or not we got our money's worth, and it's going to be a great fucking time. But first, I just want to throw this out there. Now, chronic listeners to the podcast,
Poor souls.
those poor souls that really have nothing else better to do with their lives, would notice that we are usually doing a live recording for WrestleMania, and this year we had to toss it out, actually. I had some shit going on. We weren't able to get together for that, so this is a deviation in format. My bad.
You ruined it, damn it.
But I'd look forward to getting together next year for WrestleMania, if not sooner, for maybe something else. Who knows? Anything can happen with the WWF. But yeah, so thank you for tolerating me once again.
You fucking 18%ers, man.
Yeah.
Always squeaking it in.
Yeah.
In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about WrestleMania 14. WrestleMania 14 aired on March 29th, 1998, and was recorded at the Fleet Center in Boston, Massachusetts, and features Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I am ready.
Ready.
All right, then. Let's get into it. I loved how the first thing they did in the intro here was suggest that tradition had been replaced by degenerates. Because it has.
A generation of rogues.
A direct repudiation of everything Jim Cornette said. And despite that, this intro was heavy on the tradition and history. It was name-dropping Andre, Sammartino, Ernie Ladd, and of course Vincent McMahon Sr.
And Hulk.
Yeah, they threw Hulk in there too.
That was surprising, for sure.
They had the added line that somewhere the father of it all will revel in it too. I wasn't quite sure what that was about. It kind of almost maybe sounded like a dedication to Vince McMahon Sr., but I don't know.
It was very nice, though, that we got a movie voice guy for WrestleMania, not fucking Michael Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the opening was fantastic. I think it really highlighted that they are ushering in a new era.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the self-awareness on their part to know that that's what's going on. I think that's awesome. They knew they were onto something here.
So much better than the boyhood dream.
Yeah. Well, we were not fucking around as we went into our first match of the night. LOD 2000. Hawk Animal with Sonny defeats the New Midnight Express with Jim Cornette, ultimately, by over-the-rope elimination in 8 minutes and 19 seconds in the 15-team Battle Royale. By God. We talked about it ahead of time, and just so our listeners know, we had to trim down our notes because we were all just bursting at the seams with the amount of shit we had to say about this.
Yeah, 45 minutes apiece.
So we came in on the entrance for Farouk and Kama. I was able to see the Midnight Express there at ringside, but nothing else was said about this other than teams have already been introduced. So I was like, okay, well, none of them are going to win it then. Good to know. LOD 2000 came out as the mystery team, and my God, they looked like shit. It was like this weird red mashup of Techno Team 2000 and Max Moon with all this extra crap they were wearing.
Full-on body suits of armor with, like, the shin pads, helmets. Like,
what
it was
were those
crazy.
helmets?
I don't know. They look almost like Daft Punk or something they were coming out in.
They looked like motorcycle helmets to me.
Yeah, I couldn't. It was like a weird blend between motorcycle and, like, hockey, like goalie masks.
It took them 20 minutes to take off all that gear.
It did.
Well, when you have that much shit on, it's more than the Smoking Guns had to take off.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Animals wearing, like, boxer briefs now, too.
Yeah, they did make sure to highlight that. The booty shorts.
Booty shorts, yeah.
Sunny looked hot as hell, though.
She did.
Sunny looked fucking amazing.
And that, like, Roman-looking outfit or whatever.
Yeah.
The flames on the boobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to get a view of who all was in this. But that was like up until we got a spotlight on Sunny posing in the ring, and God, my pants got 3 sizes smaller with that view.
Like the Grinch.
So I was able to see the Godwins. The Nation of Domination counted as 2 teams. Los Bricos counted as 2 teams. The Quebecers were there. DOA, the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express. Come on, where is it? Thank you. Well, thankfully, I don't think we have to say their names again for the rest of this pay-per-view.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully ever.
The Headbangers. I think Flash Funk was paired with Steve Blackman. And then they all just flooded the ring. And it was impossible to tell. Bradshaw was in there somewhere. He might have been paired with Chains. I don't know. Recon and Sniper. Talk about the fuckiest of clusters. This was just terrible. Jerry Lawler did say, though, that Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor were paired.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was something of note.
Probably the most interesting part of this entire match.
Yeah. The Kurgan appeared without being scheduled.
The least important part of this entire match.
And then Barry Windham appeared without being scheduled.
Oh, second.
Yeah. And I only note that because it was a dud right then and there. Not that it wasn't before, but that just confirmed it. I guess there were a bunch of illegal eliminations because of run-ins. I don't know. And also, I guess this is something that just came up in the middle of it. If one member of a team is eliminated, that means the whole team is eliminated. I don't know. Commentary didn't sound like they had a very firm grasp on the rules here at all.
That's what it sounded like to me, and Mark Henry did not get that memo.
No, and I think they made that point. Mark Henry shouldn't be in there.
Yeah, he was in there for like 30 minutes after his partner got eliminated.
But the real, I guess, takeaway, if there is one for this shit fest, is that whoever wins this gets a shot at the tag titles at the Unforgiven pay-per-view next month. And that's it. The finish sucked, like I said. Dud. This was a dud practically from the opening bell. Joe, what'd you think of the show opener here, please?
Well, I'm going to be oddly generous here on this one.
God.
Just Now, don't get me wrong. The match was just terrible.
Okay.
Horrible idea, horrible gimmick.
Interested to hear the generous part.
Right.
The good parts, if you want to call them good, like we mentioned, Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor teaming up for the first time on TV is notable. The message was sent here. The whole purpose of this was to display this LOD 2000, even though it's trash. Sunny helps for sure. Her sex appeal is like an 11 here for this. Yeah. The crowd is still chanting LOD. So
yeah, there's no denying that.
These guys are like way past their prime. They've been going hard on the road for well over 10 years now at this point. But these crowds still love them. And the whole purpose of this was to help them get over. And I think it did its job. Even though it was in a really shitty way, it was a shitty match. But there were some stakes there, too. Now we're going to see them against the tag team champions next month. So I actually went with 2 stars on this because I feel like they got the point across.
Jeez.
That is damn generous, Joe. Yeah. Damn generous. Yeah. When I saw the Nation come out, Farouk and Kama, they started coming down to the ring. And my first thought, I was like, really, we're going to see all 15 teams come down? Then they showed, no, most of the other jobber tag teams were already down there. So I don't know, is this the first time that we've had like a full-on WrestleMania jobber treatment? Most people don't get a jobber treatment at WrestleMania. They say
technically Triple H got jobbed out by the Ultimate Warrior.
That is true. That is true. Yeah.
Bart Gunn.
Yeah, Bart Gunn.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, I guess it does happen. But, Joe, to your point, though, this was all about bringing back LOD 2000, the new reborn LOD with Sonny as manager. And I do think that helps them out. They already were giant fan favorites, and now you add Sonny, and we heard it throughout the match. They were cheering for them for sure. So I guess I can't fault them for what they're doing, but this match, I can't give really any help to, because when you add 30 guys into the ring, this was just a giant clusterfuck of mediocrity. Just every shitty team and faction that we've had to deal with over the last year were shoved into this. Sadly, Savio is the first to get eliminated. He's someone that's like, hey, he's a good worker. He's been a veteran. He's worked for you, and he gets eliminated first. That was sad. But Barry Windham coming in, I didn't think this could get any worse. And then you bring Barry Windham, and it really jacks it up to another level. But LOD pulls it off, and they're going to be going up against the new tag team champs or old tag team champs, whoever it's going to be at Unforgiven. I'm not sure I'm excited about that. So I ended up going with a dud as well. So I'm more in Bartlett's camp with this. But Joe, I will agree with you in the fact that obviously the fans love it. So I can't say they're wrong for doing this, but I thought this match was horrendous.
Yeah, and you're both totally correct with that. The fans wanted it, and they got it. It really just comes down to taste. But so a couple of the things that you guys have said made me wonder, and I'm spitballing this, pulling it out of my ass. A question for you both. Joe, I'd like you to answer first, and then Ryan. Who would you rather have on your screen? LOD 2000 with Sonny or Harlem Heat with Sherry Martel?
I got to go with the younger. I got to go with Sonny with LOD. I love Sherry and Harlem Heat, but Stevie Ray's kind of a weak link there, and Sherry's a little older.
Okay.
I'm going to probably agree with Joe on this solely because I've always been a WWF guy. I would change back and forth a little bit during the peak of the war, but I'm a WWF guy for sure.
Yeah, it made me curious because it almost felt like this was kind of like an answer to them. Not that they were in 98. I don't think that they were really setting too many fires over in WCW at that point, but it just got me wondering. You've got the two awesome wrestlers and then the hard as nails bitch coming out dressed with the flame gimmick. And
it might have been. Harlem Heat is no longer a thing at this point, though. Booker's single.
My bad.
Yeah, Booker's doing singles. But yeah, it wasn't that long ago that they were with Sherry, probably like a year.
All right. Well, like I said, it just popped into my mind. So.
Yeah, it is a good comparison, I think, like a futuristic Harlem Heat type thing that they're trying to go for.
What'd Meltzer have to say about this?
He gave it -1.5 stars. He said the match was so nondescript that they never even bothered telling us who was in there in the first place. The real story was the new look of LOD with Sonny dressed in very little as their new manager.
Way to hit the highlights there. Thanks, Dave. Nondescript. What a great word. So after that, we got some clips from that public workout that DX had in the middle of Boston. We got a view of Michaels and Tyson smooching Austin on his dome. I guess they had him tied up in the ropes. That was another one of those, "This is it, Austin" moments.
There's a little story behind that, too. Shawn Michaels almost didn't do that spot because I guess near the beginning of the event, people were throwing batteries and shit.
Oh, like Philadelphia at Santa.
Yeah, Heartbreak said that he didn't want to go out there, but he had to hit the pay window and made an appearance to give Austin that smooch, which I just thought was hilarious, by the way. Both of them smooching him.
That was followed by clips from the Regis and Kathy Lee show with Austin.
Always love it.
Yeah.
Austin was trying and failing to intimidate Regis Philbin. Regis just gave Austin's bald head a little buff there, a little rub for luck.
No selling, Regis.
That's right. Yeah. Balls of steel, Regis Philbin.
Hell yeah.
And there were other various superstars at various other venues around Boston that got highlighted there. So that took us into our next match. Taka Michinoku defeats Aguila by pinfall in 5 minutes and 57 seconds to retain the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship. The first series of tie-ups and exchanges were badly telegraphed, so this started out as a dud. Not that it had much of a chance, but there were a few moves that made me think that if these guys were any heavier, they would be snapping their ankles on like every other move. I do like that little fit that Taka throws to signal the Michinoku driver. And I decided that in this match, and maybe in a lot of matches in hindsight, Aguila is the problem. He looks like he half-asses just about everything he does that isn't leaping from the top rope.
He's 19, goddammit.
Well, all of his punches, all of his kicks, anything that he does that isn't a leap or dive just sucks. All of it.
Yeah.
And that's all I have. This stayed a dud. Ryan, what'd you think of it?
I didn't have much of a higher opinion of it. Unfortunately, we've seen this match only a few times less than Taka versus Brian Christopher. So this is nothing new to begin with, and it was a lot of spots. This was the proverbial spot fest. I guess they maybe hit them a couple more times on point and on time tonight, so a couple of them did turn out okay, but in the end, this is just like all the other light heavyweight matches we've gotten for the last few months. It just kind of same old shit, nothing very impressive, but I didn't hate it quite as much as you. I didn't go a dud. I ended up going with a 1 star.
I have buried Aguila before, and I'll do it again. He sucks. And he's like a dollar store psychosis.
Yes.
Is what he reminds me of. And why the fuck is he on WrestleMania? He's terrible.
No clue.
And Hugo is back. I don't know if you guys saw Hugo, the commentator.
Oh, that's after his weird.
I guess he was found not
apartment
guilty
with
of
the
that.
kid. And,
yeah.
Crack. No, it was crack.
All that
I think
crazy shit.
That was I remember it was bizarre. It was like something out of a 48 Minutes show or something.
He's back. And that's great to see. As predicted,
I guess.
As predicted, this was a let's get all of our shit in type of match.
Yep.
On a WrestleMania. This is shit we see on Raw all the time with Taka.
And Aguila.
And him. There's nothing offensive about it. It's not for me, brother. It's not my type of match that I want to see right now in 1998. There's no story at all in the ring or outside of it leading up to this. So
what do you mean? They've faced each other 153 times.
Yeah, 153, too many.
Yeah.
But like I said, nothing offensive, so I did go with 1 star as well. I feel like this type of match would probably hold up a little bit better nowadays. I think AEW fans would probably jizz in their pants over this match. But it doesn't work for me, brother. So I went with 1 star on this.
Yeah, so Joe, I think you're right on the AEW thing. That doesn't make it any better, though. And I will disagree that there was something offensive, and that is strictly Aguila half-assing everything. Like, he looked like he was just as bored in that match as I was watching it.
He shouldn't have been booked on a WrestleMania card.
No.
Yeah.
This match was also in the number 2 spot, which is generally where you put the
shit.
Worst.
The shit, yeah.
The number 2, yeah.
Yeah.
What'd Meltzer think of it?
He gave it 1/2 star, which I was a little shocked by. I thought he would be creaming over this one.
Seems like something up his alley.
Yeah. He said there were great flying moves, but Aguila needs to go to wrestling school. Except for his amazing flying ability, he's worse than a lot of people in their first pro match. So Dave is not a fan.
He's like a 10-year veteran, right? At 19, they keep on telling us.
Oh, speaking of that, I guess they are lying about his age. He's actually 20, but it's only a year difference.
He was like, well, I was doing it in Little League. We can do it in professional wrestling, too.
It's the Jeff Hardy
reverse,
lying about the age.
Reverse Jeff Hardy.
He really needs to do that. The Ric Flair string in the doorway punching practice, I think.
Oh, my God, yeah.
All right, let's get the hell away from that. We went to an interview with, I guess, Jennifer Flowers as the interviewer. She was with The Rock, and The Rock was calling her Jenny. I loved that. I don't know why, but as soon as he just completely ignored all the Jennifer shit and called her Jenny, sold. I am fucking sold. Jenny was asking political questions. What does The Rock think about the homeless situation, the judicial system, etc.? And man, I fucking loved this. This was peak Rock.
It was.
Yeah.
And hopefully this is the last of Jenny we'll see. But, if we had to have Jenny, this was a great way to do it.
Yeah.
I thought The Rock really hit this out of the park.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew with Vince McMahon bringing her, Jennifer Flowers here, the first thing she says, well, what would you do if you were president? You got to go with the president line. But man, The Rock took over, and I thought he was amazing here. And like you said, just classic Rock.
Yeah.
For me, again, like, when they first announced Jennifer Flowers, I had to look it up because I didn't remember who the fuck she was. And The Rock made me forget about her completely during this. Yep. So that was what made this great.
Not to mention, he had on one of those classic Rock button-down silk shirts.
Yeah.
That thing, one of his more memorable ones. And I think I remember hearing on JR that most of those Rock shirts ended up in the King's wardrobe.
That's funny.
That is funny.
So that's something to watch for, because if you look for, when I heard that, I looked it up, and they show like one by one, they'll show the shirt on The Rock, and then like a years later, it on the King at ringside doing commentary.
Well, the DX band was in the house.
Hell yeah.
Playing the DX entrance live, and somehow it sounded 10 times more 90s than it already did on the house PA, hearing it live.
You mean,
Are you ready?
Yeah, so that coming off of your soundboard sounds better than the DX band live.
Oh, come on.
Wow, it was live, man. What do you want?
Don't massacre my boy, Jim Johnston, here.
We'll talk. I'm not talking about Jim Johnson. I'm talking about this fucking band.
He's there. He's the guitar player.
Jim Johnson was not
that fucking nerd playing the Stratocaster was Jim Johnston.
Are you sure?
I broke my neck in the air when I heard him. Yeah, it's Jim Johnston.
His hero. Of course he knows.
The guy with the dreadlocks and the cut-off jeans.
No, the fucking nerd on the left.
Oh,
playing the Strat.
I didn't see him. I was too drawn by
You were disgusted.
Existentially angsty lead singer with the turned around bowler
Hey, I thought he
cap
sounded great.
We'll talk more about that later. It went into our next match. Triple H with China defeats Owen Hart by pinfall in 11 minutes and 29 seconds to retain the WWF European Championship. China looked great. I dare say this was the hottest she has looked yet.
That outfit was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, there's notes too that, and again, like it's something that kind of just slipped in my mind just because we're used to seeing China in later years too, but I guess she's using more makeup now.
Yeah.
But it's something that just kind of slipped my mind. Like I read that in the Observer and I was like, oh yeah, I guess she is kind of changing her look a little bit.
Getting a little glammed up.
Yeah.
It reminded me of fantasy armor in an RPG game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what she had on, it looked amazing.
Yeah, she looked great.
Yeah, something out of like a Frank Frazetta drawing or painting. So let's not forget that she's going to be handcuffed to Commissioner Slaughter during this match. I loved the Fink announcing that Commissioner Slaughter is going to exercise his authority by applying
that announcement
the
was it's so obnoxious. Like, didn't we already know that? Didn't we already know that was going to happen? But the Fink announces it as if it's like a surprise.
Yeah. I feel like going forward, instead of Commissioner Slaughter, we should call him Eunuch Slaughter.
Yeah. Yeah. Zero balls now.
Yeah. The end of this. Whew.
So I loved China going chin to chin, bowing up, as JR put it, to Sarge as they were putting the handcuff on her.
She's an Amazon.
And then Owen came out, and man, it just felt like a jobber entrance. I did love Owen jump-starting this with a chop block. That looked great. And I was not surprised that nobody addressed the referee's discretion that resulted in Owen being the challenger instead of the defender here. That still rankles with me, by the way, in case you can't tell. And then we got the great news that Earl Hebner was in the ICU getting worked on at some hospital somewhere.
I guess he had like an aneurysm or something. Like I guess something real serious happened with him.
Damn.
Well, he was only fucking himself up rather than fucking up something in the ring here tonight, I guess.
Rather than screwing somebody.
Yeah. I ended up just sitting back and watching most of this. I wasn't really taking many notes because even though the work was perfectly serviceable, there was nothing that I could point to as being like wrong or off, but it still felt like a jobber match with Owen Hart as the jobber. When Owen Hart got the sharpshooter on and the commissioner showed his impotence by letting Chyna help try grab the rope to break the hold, the crowd was erupting. They were cheering for the sharpshooter. They were booing for Chyna's assist. The crowd was behind Owen, but they were the only people behind Owen. And in that, I'm counting The Office. I'm counting Triple H. I'm counting anybody that had any kind of influence in this match decision. Chyna threw some powder in Slaughter's eyes, which apparently also disabled his legs and sense of direction, because with that powder, Chyna was able to move him around at will like a marionette, further interfering with a low blow to Owen there. That set up the pedigree for the pin and the win. I did love Chyna beating the ever-loving shit out of Commissioner Slaughter once she got the cuffs off, though. That was great.
Deserved.
And meanwhile, Owen exited with zero fanfare or comment while Triple H and Chyna remained to milk the crowd a minute. And that's where this ended. So, man, I was conflicted with this. It really frustrated me in a lot of ways because the work here was solid. And as the match built, I was sucked into it. I loved the finish, but not Slaughter. I loved Chyna interfering and the low blow. I loved the way it was executed, just not the Slaughter part of that. But I did not necessarily like the outcome, which is Owen as a jobber. I could only view this as a jobber match to put over Triple H. And so with that lens, I ended up going with a solid 3 stars on this. And I feel guilty giving it that. All I can do is hope that this feud is fucking done and we can all just move on. Joe, what did you think of this match?
I agree with you on a lot of that, a lot of your thoughts there at the end. I do have to say that this, I guess if we're cheating a little bit here, we know what's next for DX after this event.
And for Owen.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I think that this was very well done because in the back, they know that Heartbreak he's going to be out for a while. So Triple H is the next guy. He's going to be the leader of DX. And I think that this did a very good job at getting that message across without anyone really knowing.
Yeah.
I think Chyna and Triple H both, I think they looked really great in their gear. They look like larger-than-life characters now, both of them. This is the first time we got the crotch chop pyro for Triple H in the ring. So that was cool. But yeah, the match itself, obviously Owen is very limited. He does have that ankle injury for real. So the match wasn't that great. However, it does help set up what is next for DX and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And so I actually went with 3 stars as well. I probably would have gone 4 if this was a good match, but it just wasn't really a good match. And then the handcuffing stuff, I just feel like it wasn't really necessary.
No. Especially if you're going to let her interrupt anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And then the arguing at the beginning about not wanting to be it was clearly stated weeks ago that this was going to happen.
We planned this months in advance.
Yeah, so I think the storytelling part of the handcuffing was pretty terrible in my opinion. But again, 3 stars. I thought that it got the point across. It's setting up Try to be the new leader of DX.
It's kind of odd because going into this, I think we all were dreading this match a little bit just because of the story of how much Owen Hart has been getting buried the last few months. But just like the both of you, I also gave it a 3-star. And that's because it was, one, a very solid match. I thought, even with Owen being somewhat limited with his ankle injury, I thought it was a very solid match. And Joe, for all the things you said, this is setting up Triple H to take over what is the best faction in the WWF right now. And one thing to highlight that fact is finally Triple H is coming out in him his new attire. We finally got rid of the blue robe, and it's like now this metal studded black robe, and he's got the neon green DX style H's on his pants. Like, he is tonight the leader of DX, because later on we'll see Shawn and he doesn't have any DX attire on.
Yeah.
He's in his old school Heartbreak Kid stuff. So Triple H is the face of DX tonight. And if it wasn't for just how humiliating this story is for Owen, Joe, I'd probably, like you said, it would be almost a 4-star if the match was a little bit better and maybe the storyline wasn't quite set up the way it was. But the ending, how they set up Triple H, what I got out of this, I had to give a 3-star, even though it did feel a little bit dirty to do it.
What'd Meltzer think of it?
Meltzer also gave this 3 stars. He said that Owen Hart had a good match, even though he probably should not have been in the ring. Which he also mentioned that Owen apparently like got out of his cast or his boot or whatever like that day, that morning.
Jesus. So commentary after that mentioned some kind of technical difficulties. I didn't know what those were. Couldn't tell. That was prior to a historical retrospective on Mark Marrow's, quote, rise to mediocrity, unquote, which had me popping. And this was not well done at all. The story wasn't good to begin with, but the adjectives used to describe Sable were horrible. Things like gentle and graceful, trying to set her up as like fucking June Cleaver. June Cleavage. Haha. It went on for way too long, is really the takeaway, as it went into our next match. Mark Marrow and Sable defeats the artist formerly known as Goldust and Luna by pinfall in 9 minutes and 11 seconds. Yeah, I have no idea what the fuck Goldust and Luna were wearing. It was terrible.
It was more Silver Dust tonight.
Yeah. Joe, you got your wish. Sable came out in what passes for ring gear for the disproportionately enhanced. So there was that.
Yeah.
As soon as Luna and as soon as Luna and Sable were in the ring together, Luna ran away, and this became a dud. Sable was fucking screeching the whole time, like she does. And when Luna and Sable finally did get hands on each other, it was very obvious that Luna was not lifting a finger to defend herself and was clearly allowing Sable to do everything she was doing. Goldust wasn't even immune in that. Sable punched him and he sold it the whole way out of the ring, fucking Dickie Murdoch style. I'm surprised he didn't keep on rolling up the entry ramp out of shame. I did like Goldust's reversal of the TKO into a DDT. That looked really good. And I laughed when Marrow was only barely able to get Goldust up into the TKO after straining himself very clearly. We did get the debut of the Sable Bomb here. I hope Marrow was taking notes of how to sell that. And in the end, Sable won with a TKO on Luna. This was a dud and I fucking hated it. Ryan, what'd you think of it?
Well, this was the debut of Sable tonight, so it does mark a very special time in the WWF.
Special.
Use whatever word you want, I guess. Speaking of special, though, they let us know this is only the 3rd mixed tag match in WrestleMania history.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's all that amazing of a feat. There's only been 14, and we don't really get mixed tag teams all that often to begin with, and if there's already been 3, I don't know, that almost seems high.
Well, there was one at WrestleMania 1, I think.
Yeah.
Then there was the Bam Bam one that we saw. What was that, WrestleMania 10?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With Luna?
I forgot about that, yeah.
I did like seeing, though, on the hard camera, right front and center, a big RVD sign.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
The icon, Rob Van Dam.
Yeah, that was really nice to see. And I really hated Luna and how she had to act so afraid of Sable, doing the whole chicken shit heel thing, running away. But I have to give Luna and Goldust credit. They sold for Sable pretty well. And shockingly, I thought made her debut way better than I was expecting. Now, this was not great. by any means, but I really, really expected it to look a lot worse. And I think the only reason it didn't, because I do remember watching Sable wrestle, so I know she's terrible. And she didn't do much here, but I thought Luna and Goldust deserve a lot of credit. And because of that, I'm going to actually give it 1 star and not a dud. I'm giving that star to Luna and Goldust for doing what they did. And I don't think they could have done a better job.
Ugh.
Well, you guys are going to be real sick for my review of this. I think this was very well done. I thought this was very well put together.
You're a little bit above where I'm at, I guess.
If I forget about everything that happens after this, which I will, because I'm watching this as if it was live, this was, like you said, I thought it was way better than I expected. I expected total trash. I like that Sable kind of went with the martial arts style more so than trying to use like power. She's throwing these karate kicks and shit.
She had to lean on the ropes to do it, man.
Well, hey.
Her look for the fight was okay. I think it could have been better. I think for the time, it's 1998, I think that it went over pretty well for her to be in her first match. Guess when the first women's UFC fight was?
UFC?
Yeah.
2010.
2013.
Wow.
This is like way before there's any sort of format to follow, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Like women's MMA was probably starting right around this time. So given that fact too, I think that this was, again, very well put together. This was the right way to do it. It was a tag match. If this would have been a singles match between Sable and Luna, I don't think it would have gone over as well.
No, definitely not.
The crowd is really into it. Take yourself back in time. I thought this was pretty impressive. I wonder who trained Sable, because I doubt that it was Mark Marrow, but maybe it was. I don't know. But I gave this 3 stars because of the just unexpected. I thought it was pretty good.
Even that TKO wasn't terrible.
And don't get me wrong, like I hate seeing, again, it's not believable. Like Luna would destroy Sable. And apparently they did have real heat in the back from what I read.
Understandable that Luna would be upset.
There's stuff in the Observer that Luna was told before the match, hey, if you potato Sable, you're going to be in some serious shit. So like take it easy on her. But yeah, I thought this was surprisingly good for what it was.
Not nearly as bad as I was expecting.
Right. It'll get there.
Yeah.
But this
wasn't it. We know it.
Yeah.
I think this is the best you're going to get out of her right here.
Okay. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a dud for me. And if that's the best we're going to get out of her, then that stacks up to expectations. What'd Meltzer think of this?
Surprisingly, Meltzer gave this 3 stars as well. He said the silicone-laden pinup wife of Mark Marrow was the true show stealer, doing a variety of karate kicks that looked better than several WCW wrestlers, whose gimmicks were originally supposed to be as martial artists.
Wow.
Funny.
Getting pretty saucy.
Glacier.
Yeah. First person I thought of. Well, you're all fucking tit blind. What can I say? 18%, I guess. I'll own up to it this time. The crowd, mostly, though. I cannot see it. I respect your views on this, but I just...
Again, it's more like the booking for me. Like, nobody tore each other's clothes off. There was no shenanigans like that.
There was nothing that looked glaringly terrible in this match.
Well, okay.
Other than Luna running away, I guess.
Yeah. All right, let's get the hell away from it.
Well, good.
Yeah, let's get into this next part.
Another one of your favorites.
Great. Tennessee Lee got in the ring. For some goddamn reason. It was actually to introduce Jeff Jarrett, and instead of that fucking horse, Jarrett was coming down with Jenny Flowers.
The best ring announcer of all time, Jenny Flowers.
I will admit that Jenny was looking pretty good here.
Oh my God.
I needed a palate cleanser after that last match. So good that I was inspired to do a little bit of research and found out that in 1992, after the scandal, she posed for a Penthouse pictorial.
Lucky you.
Jeez. She was really cashing in.
Well, it's all about opportunity, pal. But anyway, she was there as a guest ring announcer for our next match. The Rock with, Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown defeats Ken Shamrock by disqualification in 4 minutes and 49 seconds to retain the WWF Intercontinental title. Shamrock jump-started this, and we were reminded that if The Rock is disqualified, The Rock will lose the title. So what did you say before, Joe? A no DQ match?
No DQ, but apparently countouts can still happen.
And I was excited going into this, and I was not disappointed, up to and including the third time now that The Rock has wrapped a fucking steel chair around Ken Shamrock's face.
He loves doing it.
Commentary pointed it out. There was practically an imprint of Shamrock's face left in the steel of that chair.
Like was it Han Solo or?
Yeah, in the carbonite, yeah.
Yeah.
We got straight through to Shamrock getting a submission from The Rock and the bell being rung with Shamrock as the victor, which left me very confused. D'Lo ran in, Mark Henry ran in. That was all great. Shamrock snapped and kept snapping. He was pulling The Rock back to put that ankle lock back on every time The Rock would get away. This was in between some body slams on the Nation there. Farouk ended up running out. He made just enough of an appearance to show that he will not be helping The Rock before going back to the locker room. Officials finally got Shamrock to let go, and I popped my ass off when I realized that those officials were people that I had never seen before and were built suspiciously like wrestlers. So Kenny kept on snapping. They all got it until the people that I actually did recognize showed up to calm him down. I loved JR saying, "Does he know where he is? Does he know what he's done?" The Rock looked great at the end of this too. He was being taken out on a stretcher with a mouthful of blood. He was getting worked on there as he was in motion. In the end, though, the referee reversed his decision because Shamrock would not release the hold. And this was the Fink announcing everything for us to hear. And then Kenny kept on snapping. The crowd went apeshit for Ken running up the entryway, dumping The Rock out of that stretcher, and continuing the assault. And it was a great visual. Shamrock was covered in The Rock's blood. JR was screaming, "I'm not even sure Shamrock can correlate thoughts right now." And that's where I'll end this. So I'll just throw it out here at the top. I ended up going with 4 stars on this.
Whoa.
And the only reason I didn't consider going higher is that it didn't feel like anything got resolved here. This felt like just another update between The Rock and Shamrock, just another update between The Rock and Farouk. And as great as this match and its aftermath, I thought, was, it just wasn't fully satisfying in that way that you expect things to be satisfying at WrestleMania. So, Joe, you're always good with the big picture thinking when it comes to booking and angles and stuff. So I wanted to hear from you first. What'd you think of this?
No need to feel sorry for giving this 4 stars. I fucking loved all of this, especially everything after the match. JR mentioned that The Rock was the youngest to win the Intercontinental title at 24 years old. And I was curious if that record still held up, and somebody did beat it. Any guesses as to who that would be?
Huh. Can we get a hint, modern or
I'll give you a hint. It was Attitude, and he was mentioned already on this show tonight.
Oh.
On our podcast.
Aguila.
No.
Younger than 24.
He was mentioned during that match.
24.
He was 23 when it happened. Jeff Hardy.
Oh. Okay.
23 years old in 2001, and he still holds that record. So, pretty cool info there from JR.
Yeah.
JR also said that Shamrock may be running on empty, and I highly doubt that. We know he has a full tank.
He'll top that tank off whenever he needs.
But what a weird win here for The Rock.
Yeah.
This is sports entertainment to the max for me. I laughed so hard when The Rock was overselling and dragging his body out of the ring onto a stretcher. And then the snapping from Ken Shamrock at the end, and he's beating him up on the DX band stage. And after, I loved when I saw The Rock, when he got announced that he was still the champion, he's raising the belt while he's laying on the stretcher. I just laughed so fucking hard at this. And Farouk coming out to basically punk The Rock here and then just leaves. I gave it 5 stars because I was so fucking dude, I was laughing so hard at The Rock during this. I just had to go with 5 stars.
Well, I guess I'm going to be the lowest of the night, but I'm not going super low. Just to warn you, I enjoyed this match thoroughly. The action between the two, phenomenal. All of the stuff after the match was just beautiful. Kenny doing his roid rage / concussion flipping out and suplexing everyone. Like, I loved all of that. There were 2 issues I have with the match, though, and one is the length. It's like, 4 or 5 minutes long? Like, it's a very short match for being a title pay-per-view match.
Yeah.
The other part of it is I fucking hate when they take the belt away from someone after the match because of whatever they did. That always just, it fucking rubs me the wrong way.
Well, rubbed Ken the wrong way, too.
And it did. It caused him to flip out and attack more officials, which was beautiful. So was everything after the match. And like I said, I'm not going to say I dislike this match. Joe, you said it. This was sports entertainment. I loved it. But those 2 things just kind of stuck in my craw, and I couldn't get more than a 3-star because of it, even though I really loved what I was seeing. If it was a little bit longer and without the reversal of the title, but very, very good match. 3 stars for sure.
Without the reversal, how do you get to Ken snapping, though? You'd have to have that. Yeah. That was what caused him to snap.
You could get there. Someone else from the Nation comes out. The Rock does. There's other ways to get him to snap where he doesn't lose the belt. I don't know. I just hate reversals. It's a personal thing with me.
Yeah. Well, and that reversal is part of what led to me downgrading it to 4 stars because none of it felt satisfying. It did, but it didn't. Like it felt satisfying in the short term with Kenny snapping and fucking everybody up, but in the bigger picture, it didn't feel satisfying at all. What'd Meltzer think of this?
He gave it 1.5 stars.
Oh, fuck him.
Whoa.
He has a very interesting comment here. First, he said that not much to the match itself. So the match itself is what he's basing his rating on. But then he says they need to get Shamrock into DX as he's the only guy in the company realistically ready to do a major money program with Steve Austin. And with Michaels out, DX needs a singles headliner. So that's kind of a shot at Triple H. He's not a Triple H fan. He never has. He never was. So that's kind of a shot at him, probably.
There's no way that Ken Shamrock could be the leader of any faction. We've seen him on the mic.
Right.
Yeah.
He could do okay when he's kept within his boundaries, but not as like the leader of a D-Generation X.
Yeah.
That's stupid, Dave Meltzer.
I really don't see, and I've said it before, I don't see any benefit in having Shamrock as part of any faction, period.
No, he's a lone gunman.
Yeah. Yeah, he's solo all the way. Hey, we got another updated Not a Real Athlete video, but this time, Ahmed Johnson completely removed.
Nowhere to be seen.
How about a round of applause for that? It's deserving. Hell yeah.
Get him the fuck out of here. Jerry Lawler, though, was concerned about The Rock having a broken leg. That was while officials wheeled down a dumpster for our next match. Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie defeat the New Age Outlaws, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, by putting both of those teammates in the dumpster in 10 minutes and 1 second in a dumpster match.
That did not feature Duke the Dumpster.
It did not.
Shockingly.
Popping up like some obscene Jack in the Box.
I guess he may have been in there. We just didn't see him.
Hey, I live here.
Yeah.
So I think Terry Funk just gave up altogether on Chainsaw Charlie.
Yeah. I was glad, actually, to see the pantyhose thing over his head kind of gone now.
I liked the Funk You
Did
shirt.
they introduce him as Chainsaw Charlie?
They did, but the Outlaws referred to him as Terry.
Yeah, it was very confusing.
Kept calling him Terry. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's no secret that I haven't been as up for this feud as I have been for others, but I was very happy to give this a fresh chance now that it's on a pay-per-view. pay-per-view, less restricted. Moves and bumps here, they looked good. I loved the side Russian leg sweep of the back of Cactus's head into the dumpster. And there was multiple replays of Cactus diving into the side of that dumpster. So that was all fun to watch. I loved Lawler saying, in regard to Funk, yeah, he's a wrestler for the ages, all right. Ages 60 to 70. Popped for that. And I did have to give it to them with the spots where the ladder got tipped over with Billy and Cactus on it falling into the dumpster. That was good. Billy Gunn's power bomb of Terry Funk into the dumpster. That looked good. And that was kind of the theme, though. Like, it looked good. I was really debating on whether or not I wanted to call this a spot fest or not, because I wasn't sure if that was the right usage, but it's kind of the same thing. This entire first part of the match, it was just moments in time where somebody was getting hit hard with something and then not much in between. And it was, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was fine. I enjoyed watching it, but it wasn't really like grabbing me. Things didn't get exceptional for me until they went backstage. This is what I consider the second part of the match, the shortest part of the match, but ultimately the best in my opinion. Cactus got thrown through a catering trolley on their way back. That was great. And then some barrels. Billy Gunn got a double arm DDT onto a pallet, which was just so happened to be connected to a forklift. Terry Funk jumped into that forklift and was screaming like a fucking madman driving that thing. I loved that.
Straight out of one of the wrestling PlayStation games, driving the forklift around backstage.
Yes. So they ended up with Road Dogg and Billy Gunn on that pallet. Terry Funk drove that over to some other dumpster and then used the tilt function to dump them into the dumpster. Cactus shut the lid on it, and then that was it. As they were crawling around celebrating their victory, I noticed Terry Funk had one hell of a bruise on his right flank. That thing looked fucking nasty. I don't know where he got that from, but that was rough looking. And that's it. New tag champs there. And I was left wondering just what I was going to end up giving this. Like, the best part of the match was the shortest part, being backstage. I loved the finish. A lot of the rest of it was kind of just underwhelming. So I ended up going with 3 stars on this. Ryan, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, like you, I was happy to see that Chainsaw Charlie gimmick. It's kind of getting dropped, especially since we weren't really using it to its full extent anyway the last few weeks. So let's just make him Terry Funk. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week as well, that dumpster match is pretty much a casket match. That's what this was. I thought from the start I was enjoying it. Despite the feud running on fumes as of late, this was a no DQ match with Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. You know what I mean? And I thought they kind of delivered, and I thought the Outlaws did a good job working with them. I also really love the Road Dogg side Russian leg sweep, Cactus's head right into the dumpster. It rung that dumpster like a bell, but I'm sure everyone in that arena heard that hit. And that's the type of stuff you want to see in a match like this. And then every foreign object you could think of, cookie trays, ladders, pipes, you name it, came in. And the spot with the ladder, I thought was very well done. That had to be in just the right spot and tipped over just the, because if not, they're crushing their legs or head off the side of that dumpster. That I thought that was pretty cool. And I also loved everything backstage, including the forklift. And then I loved Terry using the forklift to trap them in the dumpster after they closed the lid. All of that was cool, not to mention that Terry Funk and Cactus Jack now are the new tag team champs. So I thought this was a very solid 3-star match. It was just a good, fun, lighthearted sports entertainment match, and I thought it delivered.
Yeah, for me going into this, we've talked about how this feud hasn't really grabbed us. We're not really that interested in it. Kind of need something different with these two teams. And I really wanted to love this match, but I kind of just fell in the middle and kind of stayed there for most of it. It had a couple spots, like you guys mentioned, with the ladder. That was cool. I liked that the Road Dogg had Dog 420 on the back of his shirt. I thought that was funny. The crowd was dead at the beginning of this match, and then they kind of picked up a little bit later, so just kind of shows you where that live crowd is at this point in the show. But the stuff in the back, it just, to me, I'm going to be a nitpicking dickbag, I guess, but it just didn't, it looked a little bit too fake gimmick to me, like with Mr. Ass and Road Dogg, like basically putting themselves on the pallet and staying there. And then they had to kind of roll off the pallet into the dumpster. Again, nitpicking dickbag stuff. And the other thing is the fact that Terry Funk and Cactus Jack won the belts. I don't know if I like that. And I feel weird saying that considering who we're talking about, because I love those two guys, but like, do we want them to be tag team champions? I'd almost rather just see them kind of do their own thing, or I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of over it by now, which sucks to say that, but yeah. I want something different for them. So I didn't really love that. I did go with 2 stars because, like I said, I didn't hate anything here. I just kind of hovered in the middle there. It's almost like I wanted it to hold up to that backlot brawl that we saw 2 years ago with Roddy Piper and Goldust, given who's in this match, and it just didn't really live up to that for me.
And that's totally fair. I totally agree on that. I don't want them to be champs. I don't want them to keep up as a tag team, honestly.
Yeah.
What'd Meltzer think of this?
He gave this 3.25 stars. He said there was not much wrestling, but it was a typical gimmicked brawling match with some creative spots.
Yeah. I'd agree with Dave on that one.
Yeah. All right. So let's move it along. Oh, boy. So next up, we got a Michael Cole voiceover. That was for setting up the Undertaker Kane review. The Resurrection of a Damned Soul. And this was good because the story has been good. But it was also a very girthy package because the story has been pretty girthy so far.
We didn't get to Shawn Michaels yet.
When we finally got back to the ring, the Fink was there to introduce number 14, Charlie Hustle himself, Pete fucking Rose, and I popped my ass off.
In Boston, yes.
Where he's hated.
I laughed when JR said the fans there in Boston would probably prefer Ted Williams. And by God, Pete Rose got on the mic, and the first fucking words out of his mouth were, the last time I was here, we kicked your ass. And I fucking popped all over again.
What a heel. What a heel.
I wanted to pound the coffee table. I was popping so fucking hard. I felt like the wolf in the fucking Droopy cartoons. I wanted to just be punching things and howling. And he kept going. Pete was scatting and bebopping all over that crowd. Finally, he said, and now introducing... And then the lights went out, and the organ music hit, Hellfire and Brimstone, and Kane marched his big red ass down to the ring where Pete Rose was still standing. And Jesus, I can't tell you how hard I came when Kane, Tombstone, Pete Rose. Highlight, 5 stars. The greatest moment of 1998. I don't fucking care what you call it. I was practically weeping with joy as they carted Pete out on a fucking stretcher. Guys, we don't ordinarily pause on these mid-match segments for pay-per-views, but I had to here. I am not bullshitting at all when I say that rewatching Kane, Tombstone, Pete Rose was one of the absolute highlights of this podcast so far. I fucking loved it. And I look forward to many more years of it to come.
Yes.
Ryan, please, what'd you have on Charlie Hustle here?
I have been waiting for this ever since WrestleMania 14 has become on our horizon. And I absolutely loved the Fink. At the beginning, when he was introducing Pete Rose, he turned that knife just a little bit when he said, undoubtedly a future Hall of Famer. Fucking fuck you, Fink. Pete Rose, he comes out here playing the heel, saying the last time we kicked your ass, you can't win a World Series. And the crowd is just going crazy here. And right at the moment, as he's laying into this Boston crowd, I'm thinking to myself, this is like Jerry Lawler, 1993-94. And then JR asks the King, hey, did you prep Pete tonight? Because this is exactly what it was like. It was like the King when he would go out there and just lay into them. And that brings up an interesting question. Are they trying to plant the seeds of the Kane babyface turn already? Because Pete Rose, this crowd was rock hard to see him get sent straight to hell. And that's what they got. Kane came out, he fucking tombstoned him, and this crowd went crazy to see Pete Rose sent out on a stretcher. So what a way to introduce this match. What a way to start Kane as a fan favorite. I loved it just as much as you. Fantastic.
Did we know that Pete Rose was going to be on this show?
I think they did mention it last week.
It once.
Yeah. Last week? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kane's a babyface now. That's funny.
Yeah.
But for the listeners who don't know, Bill Buckner was a first baseman for the Red Sox, the Red Sox at this time were cursed and could not win a World Series. And Bill Buckner made an enormous error in a game where he just missed a routine ground ball. And my favorite part of it, the delivery from Pete Rose is just, it is top notch. This guy's a baseball player. He's not a comedian or an actor.
But it's very clear why they had him come back time and time again.
Right. But my favorite part was when he said, I got tickets out to Bill Buckner, but he couldn't bend over to pick them up. Just the way he said it is just like, ugh. Just so hateful. Man, what a segment. Holy shit. This was just beautifully done from everybody.
Yeah. Rare. It's rare you get something this good.
Yeah, from an outsider.
From a civilian, yeah.
Yeah, civilian.
I didn't remember any of this. Obviously I remembered Pete Rose getting the tombstone, and I remembered that I loved watching it back in the day.
But not his ripping in the Boston.
But yeah. Not even an attempt at being civil, just the first words out of his mouth. Just the last time we were here, we kicked your ass.
First words, eat my dick.
Yeah, no slow burn at all. Just right into it.
Oh God. I have tears coming out of the sides of my eyes. Just, I fucking love it. All right. So what an amazing lead in to our next match. The Undertaker defeats Kane with Paul Bearer by pinfall in 16 minutes and 58 seconds. What an entrance for Kane, but also what an entrance for The Undertaker. Undertaker got druids, torches, there was cinematic music for it. That Omen music. As he's coming in. That's what it is. O Fortuna.
Or O Fortuna, yeah.
Yeah. And just as great as all of that was JR warming up into this. You could hear the change in commentary in the lead up. Once Taker was getting ready to enter into the ring, it was all business, and it sounded amazing. So while commentary was hyping the similarities between these two, I was noticing the differences. Undertaker gave up about 1.5 inches to Kane. Kane was more muscled, more defined, and those little differences kind of dictated what I was seeing in the ring. Commentary did end up mentioning it too, but Kane was the brawler here, and that's not something that we typically see with The Undertaker. So in a ring full of beef, Kane was able to distinguish himself as the monster of the two in the way that he was working. Taker spent the first part of this on the defensive to put over, well, it was both to put over Kane, but also to have that babyface position of working up from the bottom, and he did it perfectly. And man, I was sucked into this. What a perfect example of how to tell a story, how to perpetuate a story. I was keeping in mind the amazing buildup that we've had to this match, and the way that the match played out was a physical representation of the ebb and flow of the story that we've been getting for months now. Things did get a little weird for me when we went to a rest hold after Kane lifted Undertaker on a 2 count.
A lot of beef here. They need some rest.
Yeah, I'm not saying that was bad. I don't ever remember Kane sitting with a headlock on. I'm not saying it never happened, but I don't know. That just
He's not typically
weird.
In very long matches.
Right. Once again, commentary cannot be overlooked here. They were perfectly narrating this. They were pointing out the Undertaker's rope-a-dope strategy, tiring Kane out. And when The Undertaker went airborne, Kane reversed him through the Spanish announce table. I fucking loved it. But then I really popped my ass off when Kane threw that, extra piece of table onto him. Just like a little fuck you. I fucking loved Kane, briefly going after the referee when The Undertaker kicked out of that reverse tombstone. That was it was a split second, but it was an amazing little visual. JR was yelling that nobody has ever kicked out of The Undertaker's tombstone. I wasn't quite sure what to think about that. It had to have been done before, I thought.
No. I even looked it up because
Really?
I wondered.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked it up. This is the first time.
Okay. Well, it was amazing, though. It made it that much more amazing, I guess, when we got to the third tombstone that it took to put him down. That's what got the pin, but that wasn't the end. Paul Bearer got up in the mix. Kane was not accepting the victory. He nailed Undertaker with a chair. And then things more or less wound down from there, with commentary reminding us that this was far, far from over. And that made me just as happy as this match did. So, 5 stars. Story, build-up, payoff. The fact that it is not over. 5 fucking stars all day long. Joe, please, what did you have on it?
This is a massive production for The Undertaker's entrance. I have to say this is his best WrestleMania entrance up to this point, for sure. I really loved it with the Druids. Again, sort of tickling our taint a little bit still with that, the ministry version of The Undertaker. Yeah. So I really like seeing that. And I like that you mentioned that Kane is the monster here. I think that The Undertaker did a really nice job of making Kane look like the monster in this match. The Undertaker is not used to working that style, but to me it looked pretty good. I guess a question for you, Bartlett. Do you appreciate, I know that you're not a fan of Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker matches, but do you appreciate Shawn Michaels' work anymore after seeing Undertaker in a match like this, where it's a methodical versus methodical style?
I honestly can't say that I even considered it.
Yeah.
Because this was so just enthralling.
Right.
It fucked everything else out of my mind while I was watching it.
Okay. That's probably the only thing that kind of hurt this for me, because I love those Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches so much. This was I wouldn't say it was a clash of styles, but Undertaker definitely had to work a different type of match, I think, during this, where he was not the one who was on the offense most of the time, which was really the best way of doing it, because Kane is this monster. The other thing is, Kane has been murdering people on TV the past couple weeks, so why would he not just strike The Undertaker with lightning and it's over? There's no match. He just kills him as he's entering the ring. So anyway, Undertaker did not get killed. He just took a tombstone on a chair, and I guess the story continues. Now, this is easily the best story ever told for WWF.
I agree.
Am I happy with this payoff? Yes and no. The best way of doing it is to have it keep going. And that's what they chose to do. Yeah. Unlike WCW, who totally botched their finish with Sting in the NWO. That was a long-term story, too, that got botched. But I think, again, this was another thing that was well booked. But again, I just didn't love the match itself that much. I thought the near falls were pretty good. I thought it was cool that, okay, it's almost like Undertaker ending the streak. For Brock Lesnar, he decided to end the streak of tombstones being the end of the match and allowing Kane to kick out of it. I think that's a pretty cool touch. So I went down the middle. I went with 3 stars on this.
Oh.
The Druids starting off with Undertaker coming down, I loved seeing them. A really great entrance for The Undertaker, for someone who has a great entrance to begin with. They found a way to put it over just a little bit more. And now we're inching ever close to the Ministry Undertaker now. And I know that's when he's going to turn heel, but I still loved the Ministry Undertaker, so I'm happy to get there. And once they got in the ring, man, I got chills when the 2 Brothers of Destruction just stood toe to toe, just eyeing each other up.
I was hoping for the kiss.
A kiss. Yeah, you wanted the kiss. Both of these guys are imposing looking motherfuckers, but like you both pointed out, it was clear Kane is the monster here, which is pretty crazy to say. And that went through most of this match. Taker did a phenomenal job of selling for Kane. Kane, just making him look like the bigger, stronger opponent here. The way he would throw himself into the turnbuckles, like everything was just amping up that story that we've been seeing for months now. One of the really amazing things is like the size and power of Kane. The Undertaker at one point does a reversal, like almost a Shawn Michaels style, where he wraps his legs, head scissor around Kane and starts punching Kane in the face. Like, who else in the WWF could hold the Undertaker up to do something like that? That was impressive. And admittedly, it did slow down a bit with the rest hold in the middle, but man, these are 200-300-pound plus guys going at it, so you're going to have that. Both of these guys went airborne a few times, and for me, the ending really put it over, starting with the reversal tombstone where Taker kicked out, then the Undertaker lands the choke slam, the tombstone, and then Kane, for the first time ever, kicks out of the tombstone, and it takes 3 finally to put Kane down. Again, you both pointed out the cherry on the top is they made it very clear this is not over. This feud is going to continue. When I put everything together, including how it started, so we have the 6-month buildup of this match. Then we have Pete Rose getting sent straight to hell to start the match off. And then this fantastic exchange of tombstones at the end. And admittedly, I am a complete mark for both The Undertaker and Kane. So yeah, I gave it a 5-star the whole way. I loved every moment of it.
What'd Meltzer think of this? I'm very curious to hear this.
He's not a fan of watching Kane wrestle, so he hasn't been and still isn't. He gave it 1.5 stars.
Whoa. Wow.
And he said the match told a story, but was pretty dull since Kane is not at the level of being out there that long.
What a dickbag.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time.
I agree with him from the Vader match. I didn't like Kane being out there that long against Vader.
Yeah.
A couple months ago, but not this one.
I thought that Vader was equally the problem in that, though. Not so much Kane, it was both of them. But
right.
But then again, we do kind of have rose-colored glasses for that because Vader got his face destroyed with a wrench.
Yeah.
We ended up popping for that and kind of like overlooking all the rest of it.
Mm. But Undertaker just got tombstoned on a chair. He didn't get any other...
No.
His face caved in or caught on fire.
25-pound wrench broke over his face.
Right. And that's my nitpicking dickbag moment on this. I think they just did it. They went a little bit overboard with the Kane stuff leading up to this for me, where he's killing people and then he just like...
Yeah.
Tombstone's the Undertaker, and that's it. I wanted more destruction from Kane for consistency.
But he did lose. Like, this was to put the Undertaker over.
Yeah.
Over
Kane.
Kane.
I think Kane maybe should have won the match, too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the buildup has been long enough that we wanted to see the Undertaker win here.
Right.
At least I did.
Yeah.
I do think that Pete Rose was the perfect cap to the long chain of randos getting smeared.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Also, the perfect beginning of Kane becoming a babyface.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm frankly surprised that you were as low as you were on that, Joe.
Yeah.
You pled your case very well. I get it, but just very surprised. All right, so following that, there was a really nice video package. The theme of this was the old guard handing it off to the new guard. Featured Freddie Blassie, Pat Patterson, Ernie Ladd. I think we got Killer Kowalski there in one view. Gorilla Monsoon. And of course, after that, we had to get the video package on the history of Tyson, DX, and Austin, the story so far. Plenty of Mr. McMahon mixed in there for good measure, by the way. And in case anybody was wondering, Mike Tyson really likes crotch chopping. He fucking loves it. That led into our final match of the night. Stone Cold Steve Austin defeats Shawn Michaels with Triple H and Chyna at the start by pinfall in 20 minutes and 2 seconds to win the WWF Championship. Tyson crotch chopped his way down to the ring. Did I mention he likes the crotch chop? the whole way down. I have to admit that it was really strange having Austin come out first for this. I guess I'm just so used to him feeling like the headliner that in a case like this, it's like almost disorienting when he isn't. But as the challenger, that's his rightful place. The pyro was already set up in the ring for Shawn Michaels, and I really wanted Austin to, like, kick it out or something. That just felt like that would have been really in character. So I was really fucking tired of that DX band at this point. This is where I had to write.
I thought their highlight was here in this match.
I broke my neck.
I think they're fucking terrible. I was really over it.
I'm sad to hear that.
They were horrible.
Who doesn't like a live band?
Me, in this
Especially-
case.
A live house band.
Yeah.
Horrible.
The DX house band.
Horrible.
Come on.
God, that lead singer. Well, you guys know I'm a vocals guy. I just wanted to punch that fucking lead singer in the face. I was really looking forward going into this to see how Michaels was going to work it. He's got a career-ending injury. We all know this. And to be sure, on his way down, he looked a little stiff. But then he was like shuffle-stepping in the ring a little bit. And I was like, as things progressed, it was kind of hard to square the injury with the action. And that's where a lot of my focus stayed while I was watching this. The way that this started was perfect. Michaels dodging, getting in a couple rabbit punches until Austin was able to get in a rock-solid clothesline. I thought it was genius to wait until after the match was already up and running to kick Triple H and Chyna out, leaving just Tyson.
That was announced by Eunuch Slaughter.
Yeah.
Not quite a eunuch then. Just the tiniest shrivel of a sack left. But no, I think for the in-ring story, I think it was good that they kicked them out after the match was already up and running as opposed to before. And that question about Shawn's back was doubly so whenever he sold that Irish whip to the corner. And again, I had to wonder, these two guys with the kinds of physical limitations that they had going into this, how much do we really know about it? Because they were going at it hard. There's, of course, that aspect where these are penultimate performers. They knew that this was money, and they wanted to deliver, and they did.
And the drugs.
Well,
let's be serious here. Shawn Michaels was injected, swallowing, renal injected. Like he had every painkiller available to man given to him before this match.
Well, yeah, okay. It did start to become more apparent, though, that Michaels was in pain. And it wasn't his face that was telegraphing it. It was the posture he was holding. You could see it in his movements. And Joe, I know you've had back problems in the past. I've had back problems. Like, you can just tell that ginger way that you're bending yourself. And I have no idea how he was powering through that because it was very clear in his body language what was going on with him.
Yeah.
And it steadily got worse. This is something that I don't remember at all from this match. So maybe it's that foreknowledge and hindsight that we have that's kind of a benefit for us sometimes. But all I could see was just how fucked Shawn Michaels was through so much of this. And that's ultimately where the tension shifted for me. It wasn't, who's going to get what kind of upper hand. It just became, when will this be over so Shawn can fucking stop? By the time referee Mike Chioda went down, I was wondering if someone had maybe given Shawn a quick shot of morphine or something during, and that's legit. They do so many crazy things in these matches sometimes. The way that he came back, he rallied from something that was, like I said, very visibly debilitating. But we finally got to the finish and that amazing moment of JR screaming that the Austin era has begun. Austin was working the corners, but that wasn't the end. Michaels got up and started insulting Tyson. This is another thing that I didn't remember. This was, in my opinion, probably the best single moment of this match. Tyson dropped Shawn Michaels with a hard right hand, and it looked fucking amazing.
Oh, I definitely remember that.
Yeah.
We had one of those review segments going over the entire pay-per-view, which ultimately faded to black. I'm at 5 stars on this, and really for all of the same reasons that I gave the Kane Undertaker match. Story, build up, payoff. And I'm sure that I was a nitpicking dickbag about this story somewhere along the lines, but that's the beauty of the perfect payoff. It makes you forget the bad steps in the way that you got there. And as JR said, we're in the Austin era now. Monday Night Raws are never going to be the same from here on out. I just, 5 stars, floored by this, just the significance of it, the impact of it. Ryan, please get us going on our main event here.
I couldn't agree anymore. We have the house band singing DX as they came in, and for a moment, I thought maybe because we have this live band that we weren't going to get the seizure-inducing quick cut intro,
Son of a bitch.
No, I was wrong. And not only was I wrong, it was probably longer with more cuts than we've ever seen before. If anyone out there has a seizure issue, you may want to take note before watching the entrance here. But you could kind of tell at the start of this match, even just the way the arena was, the electric in the air, so to speak, that this was something special was going on tonight. The action at the beginning started, it was pretty solid, but it became very apparent, like you pointed out, Bartlett, that Shawn was dealing with a debilitating back injury here. But I was amazed how he was able to push through this.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazed. And if we're going to give credit here, let's be honest, Stone Cold's only, 6 months off of a broken neck. So we've got 2 guys here that are kind of different wrestlers than we have seen them before. Stone Cold has completely changed up his style to compensate for his broken neck. We have Shawn Michaels in there with a broken back that's going to put him on the shelf for 5-6 years. Like, it's amazing that these 2 were able to put on the brutal match that they did. I was very shocked by that. At one point, the fans start to chant, and I believe what I heard was Holyfield. As a direct, at Mike Tyson. The King and JR say, we can't quite make out what they're saying, but this was a direct fuck you to Mike Tyson, because the reason his license is suspended right now is because he bit the fucking ear off of Evander Holyfield. So I thought that was kind of entertaining. I don't know if JR and the King were just lying to us that they couldn't hear what everyone was cheering, but to me, it was very clearly Holyfield. But going back to the 2 guys in the ring, this was a good old-fashioned wrestling match that this is what you want to see for a title between 2 stars of this caliber. It does finally end. Stone Cold hits the stunner. Mike Tyson comes in. We get the ultimate swerve. We've been told Mike Tyson is part of DX, but he gave a very quick count to give Austin the win here. And then he's holding up the Austin's shirt and then knocks out Shawn Michaels in front of everyone. The crowd's going crazy. I don't know how I could give this anything other than a 5-star, which is mainly because not only, as you pointed out, Bartlett, the build-up to this, the match was very good given the circumstances. And then this is the dawn of a new era. Like JR pointed out, this is going to be the Stone Cold era, which will be the highest this company will ever soar. So it's exciting stuff and hard to not give 5 stars.
I'll first talk about the entrances for these 2. I love that they did the entrance where they go back to the locker room. They did it for Survivor Series, the Screwjob, the Survivor Series. And they go to Austin, and Austin had like a weird swagger to him. It's almost like you could see he was a little nervous for this. But what I loved about the Austin entrance is no glitz, no glamour, no pyro, just a straight badass walking to the ring, which is what makes Steve Austin so great. He's very relatable to these crowds.
That's why the average Joe loves him.
Yeah, he wants to kick his boss's ass, kick everybody's ass around, drink beers, and just kick people's asses. And that's what they love about him, and that's why I loved this entrance. This was no fucking boyhood dream entrance. This was no pyro, no bullshit, no cartoony stuff. Even Shawn's entrance, I thought this is going to be his last entrance for a while. They know that. You'd think that fucking Kevin Dunn would give it a rest, but he didn't. And he massacred my boy, Jim Johnston. He just fucking horrible. I can't believe they did that for WrestleMania. They do it on every Raw, and now we had to deal with it on WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year.
Well, that's what I said. With the live band, I thought for sure we're not going to do it here, right?
Shawn's last entrance for a while, main event. Yeah,
cut,
what a douchebag. So that ruined Shawn's entrance for me. Man, Heartbreak is doing what he can, and it's a lot, but I guess I'm going to be the 18%er here a little bit. It's not the Heartbreak that I know and love in the ring that we've seen in the past. I could say the same about Steve Austin because he had the neck injury, and last year he had a fucking 5-star match with Bret Hart before his injury. So I don't know. Steve Austin buries this match all the time when he talks about it. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that given the situation...
Yeah, to me, that's the thing, is the situation.
Yeah, this was still well executed considering the situation. Heartbreak is in there with this. He takes a backdrop early in the match, and I'm just thinking, like, why? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Maybe that jarred something. I'm sure it did, given what his injury is. So that was a bad idea. But he still got through it. He showed that he's got guts and got through the match. After Bartlett, you said you couldn't really see it in his face much, and I agree with that. But when he was lying in the ring after the pin, you could see it in his face. Like he was in severe pain.
Yeah. At that point, it seemed like he was finally just like, it's over, and I could just revel in my pain here.
Yes, but had to do one more thing. And again, props to anyone who is willing to take a working punch from Mike Tyson on live television.
With a broken back.
Yeah, so Heartbreak has some guts, and I appreciate that. It's just not the match that I'm used to from him. I gave it 3 stars because I think it was well executed, even though I didn't really love the match.
For me, the 5-star definitely came from all of the build-up and it is tainted with what I know is to come from this. This is, like I mentioned, the dawn of the Stone Cold era. Right. So all of those things do cloud my judgment, but I'm fine with that. But I do agree. The match itself, Shawn Michaels was not where we've seen him before.
No.
Yeah, and that's why I specifically wanted to say in my thoughts, it wasn't just a match for me. It was a story. It was a build-up. It was a payoff.
Right.
And like the Kane Undertaker match, if we were looking at just the matches in a vacuum by themselves, I would probably fall pretty close to you.
Perfect way to usher in the Austin era.
Yeah.
From his entrance all the way to the end. The other great thing about it is there's that Mr. McMahon stuff in the background, because remember, was it 2 weeks ago when Mr. McMahon said he did not want to see Austin as the champion?
Yeah.
So now we have that to look forward to.
What did Meltzer think of all of this?
He gave this 3.25 stars. Okay. He said that Michaels tried to gut out a classic performance, but it appears as though he re-injured his back early on in this match.
All right, well, as I said, that's it, guys. We faded to black. So, let's talk about the most important question of all. At a premium price of $29.95, did you get your money's worth? Joe, why don't you keep going with that?
100% yes. I got my money's worth on this. I think that this is a new era in wrestling. I think that this WrestleMania doesn't get talked about enough as one of the greats. And I think the reason why is probably because there's really no 5-star Meltzer match on this card. And the beginning was a little slow. We did have a slow start to it. So I think that's probably why it doesn't get talked about much as one of the best WrestleManias. But to me, if you look at the total package here with the new era that we're building, it kind of is one of the best.
Yeah.
For me, Oh, hell yeah. The only shitty match really was the 15-team Battle Royale that we started off with. That was the absolute bottom barrel of this pay-per-view, and everything else went up. It was either serviceable or fantastic. These two final matches, to me, I gave them both 5 stars, so it would be very hard for me to say no. I definitely got my money's worth, and Joe, like you just stated, the fact that this is kicking off what will be the biggest era, the most profitable time for the WWF. That's what we're hitting. The Monday Night Raw that we're going to get to next week, that one is iconic. That's something very much talked about all the time. So very much looking forward to that. And I got my money's worth tonight.
Yeah. So my answer is yes, absolutely. No question. For all of the reasons you guys have stated already. I mean, fuck, I would have paid $30 just to watch Pete Rose get toasted again.
Yeah.
That by itself got me my money's worth. And I was trying to think of this as we were talking about it. I don't think that I have ever given 2 5-star matches, 5-star ratings in one pay-per-view.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have either.
And here we are.
We agreed. That's another weird thing. We both agreed on those 5-star matches, Bartlett. How about that?
Yeah, I will proudly hand over the mantle of 18%er to Joe in this new era.
Oh, come on.
Of Wrasslin Raw.
I didn't give any duds.
I had quite a few. but that's par for the course for me. But all right, so yeah, I'm in all seriousness though. Yes, how could you not with this?
Yeah,
so many good, even with the shitty matches, it was all so worth it.
You would have to be the most nitpicky of dickbags in the world to not like this pay-per-view.
Yeah. So speaking of numbers from the Wrestling Observer, Joe, what'd you have?
Well, the Observer readers were not nitpicking dickbags. They
Good to hear.
Went with a 90% thumbs up on this show, which is one of the higher ratings.
I was going to say, one of the strongest I think we've heard.
Yeah. 4.6 thumbs down and the rest in the middle. Best match was voted as Stone Cold Steve Austin versus the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Worst match was voted as the Tag Team Battle Royal.
If it would have been anything else, I would have rioted.
Yeah. Dave Meltzer said of this show, when it's all said and done, WrestleMania 14 will end up being one of the most memorable wrestling shows of the modern era.
Yeah.
And not for the wrestling. Not that the wrestling wasn't good. It was surprising in spots and some very gutsy performances in others, but the show itself was tremendously well produced and almost designed to be a 13-year after the original rebirth of the new look WWF and coronation of Steve Austin as the new Hulk Hogan, along with the attempt at ushering in a new hot period for pro wrestling.
Wow. I think for once in my life, I 100% agree with David Meltzer's assessment. That is correct.
Did he go back and edit that in hindsight? I'm highly suspicious of that.
Because that seems like off the mark for him.
Yeah. Well, let's see if you agree with this. This is what he said of Mike Tyson's involvement. He said that Mike Tyson's involvement was limited and really predictable. If anyone was not a WWF fan and bought this show specifically for Tyson, they probably would have been disappointed.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Only in the fact that, if you're buying a WWF pay-per-view for Mike Tyson, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that's kind of unfair. I get it, but it's kind of a wrong comparison to make.
Right. And those were the only comments that I took out of this week's Observer. So, yeah, pretty surprisingly glowing comments from Dave Meltzer on this event as a whole.
Especially after his ratings. They weren't really that strong.
No, it's kind of like I said with my Was It Worth the Money? It was like, well, you didn't have any 5-star classic matches that everybody's going to talk about forever, but the show itself was just
damn good.
Very well done. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. And by God, I'm glowing, I feel like. After talking about this, after watching this, it was a hell of a good time. And I mean, if we had to give up our annual WrestleMania get-together, I'm kind of glad it was at least for this pay-per-view, because I feel like we've had just as good of a time talking about it here than we would have had in person. The event is that good.
Fantastic event.
Yeah. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and tell all of your friends to tune in to the most transcendent Monday Night Raw review podcast on the airwaves. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on March 30th, 1998, with matches featuring Los Boricuas, The Kurgan, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.